My name is Terry Messenger, and I am
Hey, and welcome to Terry Messenger's Genius Zone. And, this is the place in the space where you are going to get your own free masterclass absolutely free.
Yay, hello. Finally, we are here. Joyce, how are you?
I am great, thank you. So glad to be here.
You look incredibly glowing and very, very peaceful and calm and relaxed, considering what's just gone on backstage here, because we know that technology is very much linked with energy, and I think we just blew it up.
I love that.
So welcome in, because I know that you're very deeply gifted and talented in understanding that there is a reason for everything. And speaking of the fact that there is a reason for everything, I know there's a lot of people that are going to really enjoy this podcast, because we're going to talk about the fact that you are that embodiment coach that can help people manifest their passion and their purpose. So I guess let's start with, what really was the inspirational point that caused you to actually decide that you were going to become a manifestation coach of the embodiment and practices that you actually teach, train, and transform?
Yeah, it was definitely at a crossroads in my life. I'd done all the things that I was going to do, raise a family, had a business with my former husband, helped in the community with nonprofits and the church and the school. And I'd done all those things, and they were all outside of myself. And it's like, well, I didn't have the next thing. And I'm like, well, what's next? What am I going to manifest? Because all of these other things had been brought to me. And it's like, well, there was nothing else that was coming to me. Like, it was like the whatever the thing was empty. Like, the list of to-dos was now getting to be empty. And I was someone who really loved to be busy, to be doing something, like accomplishing or contributing to someone or something. And that wasn't there anymore. So
Wow.
I had this pause, and I didn't know what to do with the pause in my life because I'd never had a pause in my life before. It was so foreign to me. I was like, well, what am I going to do now? And so I went on an exploration of, where do I start? Oh, I heard somebody say something about look at the things you're interested in and what you read and what you talk about a lot. And that was, empowerment and the neuroscience behind how we're wired and why we do what we do. So I started there, which led me to become a coach.
That's a beautiful story. And I believe that it sums up, absolutely everything that I believe into. And that is that it's about living your soul purpose on this earth. And it's incredible how people seem to experience their own world of pain before they reach that awakening, and from what you've just expressed, you've, always led a very full life, and, you've got to this crossroads where your kids have grown up. You've been this busy mum, you've been a wife, you've been a community person. And then it's almost like what they call here in Australia, empty nest syndrome. They probably call that over, worldwide as well. And, whether people find it at that point of their life when suddenly everything just changes and there's this pause, or whether it comes to them through their own lot of traumas that they go through. It's almost as if trauma becomes a bit of a gift. And that's what I've noticed, that, you know, it's when people get to that spiritual awakening where they do say to themselves, what next? Just like you did. So you went on a journey, and it was a spiritual journey where you kind of recognized that you were in your head a lot and you were constantly thinking. And I'm sure that so many people can relate to that, you know, where they're just so caught up in stress, they're so caught up in their monkey mind that they almost lose the essence of themselves anyways. Can you tell me what kind of practices and what you had learned that really, you know, enabled you to engage into your body and into your physical self and kind of, like, as they say, lose your mind and come to your senses, so to speak? What were some of the practices you really had to learn?
I had to learn how to really get in touch with myself, and like, what does that mean? I was not connected to myself, like to my body. I was, like you said, I was busy, I was functioning, I was all about the doing, so I could have and never the being. And so, you know, we were talking about the pain and the trauma, and, you know, I had done so much and I had served so many, but I was seeking worthiness. I was seeking a purpose, and I was looking outside myself for that. So in even as, you know, my girls grew up, it was just this feeling of being alone. You know, it's like there wasn't someone. I was looking for someone to do something with, but really I was looking for fulfillment within myself. So when I started my when I took my first coaching training, um, you know, the soul coaching training, I really discovered this part of myself that I never knew existed. As I went from, when I was in my 20s to getting married to having a family pretty quickly, and I never really discovered who I was. I never really found my purpose or my dreams. I didn't have that. Like I went and did the things that you do, right? You get married, you have kids, you move, and, you know, all those things to raise a family. But I never really had a sense of who I was or what was meaningful to me other than my children, of course. It wasn't like what was. So when I did my soul coaching training, I really got to, like, embody myself as a coach. I got to embody being autonomous from other people in my family. I got to try on a little more authenticity and not these roles that I was playing and these expectations that I thought I had to fulfill. So all of these things came about during that time. And then it just increased and magnified ever since.
Wow, that's so incredible. So what would you suggest to a person out there that is kind of like really stuck in their head and they're really locked into their thoughts and they need to get back into their body? Are there any little tips and tricks that you can share that help someone to kind of break away from that chattering mind and really just feel into their essence?
Oh yeah, I definitely had a very, very busy, chattery mind, that monkey mind. And one of the things that I discovered, I think I was going to the YMCA for fitness classes and aerobics, and I what is this yoga thing? I was like, okay, I'll try that. So I went to yoga one night, and after yoga, I felt so grounded. I didn't know what that was, but I felt so grounded, so peaceful. So I don't know, I just floated out of that class. And now I was like addicted to yoga, not because of all the poses and everything, but it was just, I really slowed down and I tuned in, and I didn't know what was happening until I became a yoga instructor. All those things were so that yoga practice, a slower one, really helped me tune into what was going on inside. And then and then with the yoga, I learned about breath work and meditation. Again, breath work is either to ground us, or, grounded me, it energized me, it helped me become more present. The meditation, I've spent so much time falling asleep at during the first several days of my meditation. Because I would just sit there and all of a sudden, I'd be sitting in a chair and I'd be like, falling off to sleep. Eventually I was able to stay awake long enough, and I just checked out because my mind was just so busy. But yeah, meditation really also is a powerful modality, even if it's just for a minute, even if your mind is busy, just the meditation just helps to bring me back. And then of course the slow practice embodiment. I did an embodiment training. I was searching for all of these modalities or ways that I could just go deeper and deeper with my own awareness. And the embodiment training helped me to start really understanding what was going on inside, because I was building awareness through the other modalities, the meditation and breath work, but embodiment really, really had it sink into what am I doing in my body? It's a simple question. What is my body doing in this very moment as I'm having this thought? And then knowing that, now it's like, oh, well, do I want to feel that? Do I want to be on that path? And then choose differently and then embody a different state. So I actually discovered that I can actually self-regulate in different ways through this embodiment. I can, be more present. I can have more clarity. I can be more empowered, all of these things through the embodiment practice.
Look, that's just profound. And I feel that real gold nugget that you really just dropped there, if I can bring that awareness to the audience, is the fact that, you're asking yourself questions. Where am I actually feeling this in my body? Because they do say that the body is the metric that holds the library of not just our own life, but generations and generations and generations of ancestral DNA that, cause triggers. So when you talked about, coming in and saying, well, whereabouts am I feeling this in my body? And recognizing that, we're telling ourselves something. So obviously the chatter of what we're saying to ourselves is then kind of almost paced by the fact that we then ask ourselves that question, well, whereabouts is it? What is it actually feeling like? And, I feel that's incredible. And, because you're a master of the embodiment practices and so much of the work, and I will like to excite our audience by saying that there's going to be a little timeline modality that's going to be brought here in this show. So stand by, because it's going to be absolutely incredible. And, I'm sure it's all about the pattern interruptions that you are obviously teaching people, and the questions that you're asking that run very, very deep with obviously, what they're going through. But it seems that, you're really gifted at helping people to almost discover who they really are at their core. And, obviously with these, past experiences of whether it's a relationship breakup or, some big change of life, there seems to be this moment and time and this whole belief system that goes on in, people's heads that they're not worthy. What do you believe is the catalyst that causes people to start self-doubting themselves, that start, telling themselves that they're not worthy. What's the cause of this? Is it something that they've told themselves, or is it something they believe from somebody else? What do you reckon that is?
Yeah, we're not even aware of our patterns and our behaviors and the way that we're showing up in other people. It's like, think about animals. They're so tuned into our energy in the slightest movement or tone of voice. And really we're like animals. Like, we are so tuned into all those things about our environment and other people that we're unconscious about. And it's really about like 95% of what's communicated is unconscious. So that's always like, we're always transmitting messages. 95%. So it's 5% is like the words that really come out of the mouth, but we hear the words, but it's all the undertone underneath. It's like, if somebody doesn't believe in themselves and they feel worthy or not deserving, we can say, like, we can puff ourselves up and say we're this and say we're that. But people are going to really, like, something's off about this person. Like, I don't trust them. I don't, like, something's not, what we call congruent.
Yeah.
And so then it's almost like, as much as we want something, we repel it. Like, people are repelled by us because we're not in the believing in ourselves, even though we're trying to fake it till we make it. It doesn't work. We need, like, all that's underneath that we're not aware of, that's running the show. When we become present to it through the embodiment practices, then we can start to shift it. And it was really interesting when I first started all of this, like yoga and breath work and meditation and embodiment. I started to slowly not become aware of my thoughts or anything, but I would go through my usual pattern of responding and reacting and do all the things that I was doing. And then eventually, after it was all finished, I would look back and I'm like, why did I do that? And because before I never even gave it any thought. So I thought, well, that was interesting. I'm actually aware that, oh, I was doing that and it took place. And then slowly I started to be in the moment reacting, watching myself reacting, wondering why I was reacting. And then the whole, like, the situation was complete. And then it just got less and less. And it's like, oh, I'm about to react, but not reacting. And then slowly it's like, oh, I'm not reacting as much. Or I'm not even reacting at all. I have a different response now. It's like, I'm not freaking out on this thing, or I'm not like talking to myself in very negative, derogatory ways. Wow, like, that was a big shift. And this happened over a long period of time because I was just doing it on my own, and through all these little practices, I have a much more powerful, quick technique that I use now, NLP and hypnosis, that really that reprograms the unconscious mind. Whereas before, this embodiment I learned embodiment practices to change my state, because with the breath work and the hypnosis, it was building awareness, and it happened over time that I was able to change a pattern in my behavior slowly, very slowly. And I'm so glad that I did have that, because otherwise I would have been kept doing what I was doing.
Yes. Oh, look, I love what you just said. And I had a flashback actually of when you were talking about, like embodying what's going on in the scene when you're locked into something where you know that you're obviously in a bad pattern. And I had a flashback to when I was in a NLP certification training. and they were almost giving you the remote control of your mind. And this is what you are really talking about. It's having that ability to really take control. It's like, well, if I've got the remote control, what if I can turn it up? What if I can turn it down? What if I can jump into the picture and actually feel what I'm doing? And what if I can jump out of the picture and watch it for a moment? And it just gives so much self-control, and it just changes the game. And it kind of brings me back to when we're in Bali, you know, one of the big elements that I was really putting forward to the group was a lot about coming back into what you're talking about with the embodiment and really becoming congruent. You use that word, and congruence is so important because it's really the whole reason people are battling and struggling, because there's a part of them that want this and there's another part of them that want that. But because they're not quite matching up, there's that incongruence. And I was talking about the story of Arthur and the sword and the stone. And, you know, how there was someone on the sidelines saying, well, Arthur, what happened? What were you actually doing when you were trying to pull that sword out of the stone for so long? And he said, well, I was struggling. I was trying so hard, and I was really, you know, wanting to pull it out, but I couldn't. And I was getting very frustrated. And he said, so when you were telling yourself this element and you were feeling frustrated, what else was happening? Oh, well, that's when I was trying even harder. I was battling even, you know, more with the whole issue of trying to get this sword to move. And he said, well, what happened in the end? He said, well, I got to a place where I felt so angry, so frustrated. And this is where people hit the wall and they make the change, right? He said that it was almost like I gave up, but a part of me didn't. It was like I just accepted that I couldn't actually pull the sword, and I drew breath and I stood back. And he said, and what happened after that? He said, well, something happened in my body, and I went back and I just very gently grabbed the sword and out it came. So, you know, it was like the whole circuit of first I've got to do this and then I've got to do that. And this is how we run our lives. We run our lives in these patterns. And people base those patterns on, you know, so much. And yet, you know, when you're talking about coming back into your body and really just appreciating it, and you talked about yoga as well. And I'm wondering, like, yoga is just such slow, deliberate moves, aren't they? And it's almost like every part of the body is just moving, and it's as if we are, you know, that element of us just coming from our head to our body is like this incredible eternal magic. So tell me, what do you do when you are going through a modality with someone who is obviously really at that crossroads, like you were yourself, and they're in a situation where they feel helpless, they feel like they've got no hope, because I know that this is what's happening with your people, and, you know, they feel abandoned even, and they feel, you know, this sense of, well, I don't deserve anything better. What do you believe is the big shift that happens that you do to get that person from where they are stuck to the other side, where they suddenly just rise up and come back to realizing who they are? What do you reckon your biggest modality that you do that you see shift people?
Yeah, first we all want to be acknowledged and affirmed, like where we're at. Because for me to come along and say, well, you should feel this and you shouldn't feel that, that just shuts me down. So it's like, yeah, like it's almost like asking them, what's that like? What's that been like? And meet them where they're at, because we all want to just be like heard and understood, and then it's like whatever protection they've been putting around them, defenses, they can just start to melt away, and they can almost like start to relax. They don't have to be on the guard. They don't have to be in this dark place as much. As like, oh, there's somebody here with me, even though I'm still in this bad place. There's somebody here at least with me. And then they start to like relax a bit more, and they become like maybe softer. And it's like, yeah, it has been tough. It has been hard. And then, then just, well, then bring them back to, because they're so trapped in that place, that embodied state of darkness. And so I just started to give them a little light. And it's like, hey, did you ever have some times when you're a child and like trying to draw out a memory, or like some happy time when they first maybe got married, or they had their child, or they maybe graduated from college, or something, something like a trip they took, something to kind of bring them to that place, where, because it is a memory, even though it happened a long time ago. Whenever we have memories that, well, all memories are very powerful. When we attach an emotion to that memory, because like when they're in that bad place, they just keep rerunning the scenario of how they feel. So they really get anchored into that state of being, and it's really hard to get out of that state of being. So I just, bring them into a conversation of something that was pleasant and enjoyable, even like your favorite restaurant, just something to bring back those feelings of like yummy food, or laughter, or feeling love, or like, that togetherness. And it starts to warm them, from this cold place that they're in. They start to warm. They start to, like, the neurons are all firing. They're just firing in a different way now. If you want to get into the science, because like every emotion, has a little chemical reaction. And so it can either, like brighten us, or it can make us really dull. So just bring them into that place of hope, and remember those times, and then have them look like, what are you looking forward to? And it's like, if they go back into the dark place, it's like, well, what is something that you are looking forward to? And then they think, well, I guess it could even be so small, right? Like, whatever that is, and just go to that place. That's something that's going to happen in the future. It could be like tomorrow, it could be next week, or, whatever, a birthday. And then have them like, well, what's so exciting about that? Well, blah, 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 I'm going to be with this person. We're going to do this. And it's a tradition that we always look forward to. So then we start going into that place. So now they're anchoring to more of a reality of the big picture of their life, rather than this place that they're in, this like moment in time that they're in, to look at their life as a whole, and to see themselves as the creator of that life, rather than what's happening or what's happening to them. It's like, okay, what are you going to create? What can you create? Even if it's just a little thing, it just might be like a baby step that's needed, but just to move them out of that place and anchor them into what they do want and how they do want to feel.
That's so profoundly said. And, for anyone out there who is struggling, what I want to echo that Joyce just said is that, we do get caught up in going around and around it. And we're funny, aren't we, us humans, how we tend to focus in on the negative and think about, oh my gosh, what's not working and everything else. But what about all the things that are working? You know, for everything that's not working, there's something that is working. And like you say, it doesn't have to be a big, profound memory that you remember. It just needs to be a memory to fire off the right neurons. I love that you said that, you know, firing off those neurons, because while we're stuck in this dark place of doing this in a momentary cycle where things always evolve and change anyway, we don't have to stay stuck there. We can be the master, as you said, of our own life. We can be the creator of our own destiny. And we can shift from being here to, well, what about that time when you just felt that incredible love and acknowledgement? And it brings me to, you know, also echo that in your services, what I do notice is that you really follow the path of helping people discover what their human needs are. And, you know, even though you didn't say this in so many words, what I noticed through when we were talking backstage is that you focus very much on the love connection. So that love connection of, you know, bringing people back into the memory of, you know, who they truly are. You know, you help them to really embrace that. And you also embrace the second human need, which is not in this order, by the way, which is the sense of importance as a human being, like that we do matter, that, you know, like your story yourself, you knew that you were a human being that was here for a purpose, and you did go on that soul search, and you are in turn helping other people to really come back to, you know, not who they forgot they were, but, you know, to kind of like completely change their state, completely shift where they're at, and help them to come back to who they truly are in an aligned and congruent and the most crystal clear way. So I'm seeing that love, the love connection, is very much what you're bringing in with your clients. You know, their, you know, obviously their human need to be acknowledged, to be important, to be of some significance. Everyone needs that. And that's exactly what I've heard that you have actually done for your clients. And just sort of bringing them back into almost the third one is certainty, feeling kind of that sense of certainty about who we are rather than the self-doubt. Like, obviously, because you help so many people that are riddled in self-doubt, that have lost their sense of, oh, well, what decision can I even make anyways? So, you know, when you're bringing them in and you're helping them connect into their love connection, their importance and significance, and their own certainty, do you think that's when the playful child can come out and they can start to have fun again?
Yeah, it's like we lighten up, right? I was talking to a girlfriend, you know, she's also a coach, and we created this group called Get Over Yourself.
I love that.
And it's like we get so wrapped up in our stuff, like, you know, I gotta be perfect, I gotta do it right, I gotta look good, you know, like I got to know what I'm doing. You know, it's like, get over yourself and just go out and play and go try something new. It's like, oh, I can't try that because I don't know enough. And so, you know, it's like we put all these barriers or limitations on ourselves from exploring what matters to us and what lights us up. And you know, what you were saying about self-love, I didn't know what self-love was. It's like, well, of course I love myself, you know, but I really didn't know what self-love was. And it's more than just, you know, taking a bath and putting in the candles and having time for yourself and reading the book. And, you know, it's like loving self-love is I'm different than everyone else, and that's okay. And it's okay to have different ideas and different opinions and not do the mainstream thing, and to want to just have a quiet time to myself or to be social. It's okay to love myself in those ways that honor what I need. And that's just like part of it. It goes so much deeper to loving yourself, especially like what's my purpose in life? It's like, well, I could just go work for someone, or I could use these gifts that I have and bless others with them, and do something with them that might be scary, but it's going to be fun if if we look at it as an adventure. It took me a long time to just go do it. Just go do it. Don't worry about the how. Don't worry about the what. Don't worry about doing it wrong and whatever. It's like, just go do it. And when I finally said yes to myself, because I heard someone just go and do it and fail miserably and have fun while you're doing it. And I'm like, what? I can't fail. I can't go make a mistake. But I'd heard it in a way that just like gave me permission to
Yes.
just do what I really wanted to do, but I was so afraid to do it. And so yeah,
That's so amazing, because the secret to success is failing forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really. I mean, the only way, if you keep on going and you keep on practicing and you keep on learning, you are going to hit the jackpot. So it's really about having fun. So I love that. And this is where, if you're out there and you are really seeking, to discover yourself, this is where Joyce's, beautiful modalities, where she's woven together the magic of the spiritual embodiment, the NLP, the beautiful language and rapport that she holds as she supports you, and brings in those human needs where you can find and discover your love connection, where you can really come to know that you do have a purpose and that you are an important human being, and where you can find your self-certainty and then become playful, like Joyce says. Go out, have fun and fail, and then, let's just have fun and do it, because I think we take life way too seriously. And, that brings me to the last one, which is number 6 of the human needs, because the 5th one was the fun and the variety, and the 6th one is contribution. And this is your story. This is what you've turned into your glory, Joyce, because you are a contributor, and that was something you always did. So when you got to the crossroads, it's like God, the universe, the higher power said, girl, you have to go out and help the world. So I'm going to allow you to struggle. I'm going to allow you to feel like there is no hope for a while, just so that you can go on this soul-searching path, and then you can literally have this beautiful program that you're going to give to the world. And I love what you do, because you're helping people manifest their purpose, their passion, and their self-discovery. You're doing the most powerful modalities like timelining, and I'm excited to kind of wind up with a little bit of a exhibit of your skills through timelining. So if everybody wants to embrace themselves for that in just a moment, and really empowering yourself with the confidence and the tools that Joyce has got, that you've got as well, because I think you've realized that it's within everyone. Everyone has it within them to manifest the life of their dreams, to be able to turn their life around, to be able to awaken their intuition, and all those elements that people sometimes dream of, or as you said to me, they look at other people and think, oh, I want to be able to do that too. Anything we identify in other people, it is within us, both good and bad. But are you ready to gift us with some of your beautiful magical timelining, Joyce?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like we're always bouncing around on our timeline. And it's like, if people are like, what are you talking about timeline? Well, think of life, you know, like you have at one end is your past, your history, and on the other end is your future and potential. And you know, every client that I work through, we always start on the part of the timeline that's already passed. Even though we're right here, right now, a lot of the energy is all about the past, and it's almost like as if the past is still alive. It's if it's still happening, and the energy and the thoughts and everything that's already going on. And it's powerful because we already know, like we know all those events have already happened, but we are living as if they still exist right now, and we're reliving them. What is it? What's that? Groundhog Day? You know, we keep reliving the moment over and over and over again. Like, you know, I talked about anchoring. So so we're never really present because we're living in the past. And then other times, you know, we're just so fed up with the past. All we do is daydream about the possibilities, and well, I could do this and I could do that. I remember a girlfriend telling me, like, she spent 2 hours one morning just laying in bed dreaming about life and what she wanted to do and all the things that excited her. And this was, I don't know, years ago, and she's never done any of them. But she spent 2 hours that morning and then shared her excitement about it, that she went into her future and she lived, she breathed, she felt everything about this excitement about her future. And she spent a lot of time there. And she would go back there occasionally and, you know, like, and dream and hope. But then she would come right back to now, but really never being present in the now, because she was either dwelling on the past of the things she hadn't done, or regretting what she hadn't had, like regretting her future already because she didn't see it happening. So she was neither present and fluctuating between the past and the present. So that's the timeline. And we travel along it. You know, imagine you're driving along your car and you'll have that memory of some memory you don't want to really have because it's already happened, or you're imagining something about to happen that you don't want to happen. And again, we're not in this moment. We're living in a possibility of something to happen or not to happen. So with this timeline experience, we can choose, we can choose which direction we want to go, because we unconsciously go there, and we don't even know we're there until at some point we kind of pull ourselves out back into the present. And so that's where the embodiment comes in, you know, is when we build that awareness about ourselves, when we feel that tension creeping into our body and our body tightening up and our jaw clenching or whatever. And saying the opposite is we feel our body relaxed, we feel our body bright, you know, happy, you know. So we know what those feelings are, but we're not necessarily aware of them. So when we do this timeline traveling, we can choose which direction we're going to spend our energy in. And
I love that. We were doing a lot of timelining in Bali, and the group really wanted to get deep into this topic. And one specific lady, she, for the life of her, she just couldn't move forward. She was stuck. Like, you know, she really wanted to take her coaching business to the next level. She is so gifted. Like, what she does is just so incredible, but she just couldn't get herself to just rise. Now, I'd heard her talking about this to me, you know, in passing from, you know, before we got to Bali, before we'd done the retreat. And I knew she was really frustrated and she'd been out there, and one of the biggest pains that she had is that she'd gone and spent so much money trying to learn how to do this, trying to learn how to do that. And she really felt a sense of, like defeat, like she just couldn't get to where she was going. And, obviously I would just listen to her. And then, of course, in the retreat, we were able to go very, very deep. So interestingly enough, when we ascertained her timeline, like, well, tell me, when is that? Because what was happening for her is she was doing a little bit of the opposite, where I know people are living quite often in their past or in their futures. And quite often, if they're living in their past, it's a kind of like a negative that they're replaying and re-triggering, and it's holding them back. In her case, it was different. It was a very unique system where she'd been very famous and very good at what she'd done in her previous country where she'd come from. And then coming into Australia, she just met this brick wall. And as I got her to define, well, tell me, where is that, that past? Where is it located? And we got her to do this little exercise. Guess where her past was? Her past was smack bang in front of her. And I said to her, okay, if you go up to that wall and I tell you to keep walking, what's going to happen? Oh, well, you're not going to get very far, right? You're just going to keep going bang, bang, bang. How can you possibly move forward if you've got your past right in front of you? Well, this was very new to her. So for her, it was like, oh my gosh, like what's just happened? What we found is that by the end of that day, she didn't want to let go of that past, because, as I said, it was a different situation of her dwelling on how great she thought she once was. And she was great, but she still is great, And, what she'd done effectively through her own subconscious was she moved her past from being right in front to just over to her right. And, during the course, by the last day, I said to her, look, I'm happy and grateful with the fact that you've moved your past to the right-hand side in front of you, but you're still looking at it. You can still see it, because you can tell so much about a person from where they are doing their timeline. And so I said, I'd love you to consider whether it's going to be safe, beneficial, and really, really good for you if we can get your past from over there. You've taken it from, 6 o'clock, so to speak, to now 2 o'clock. How about if we start moving the hands of time around so it's behind you? Now, what ended up happening is that she found the sweet spot where her timeline moved. We got it eventually to move from her far right across over here to behind her. She wasn't quite comfortable with it being behind her, but we managed to, her subconscious mind decided, which I think was a very good decision, of course it's the best decision, to bring it around to being click to her left, because I think I'm mirrored to you. But so it ended up to her left, and like reading a book, we read from left to right. And oh my gosh, what a difference. She had that memory, but instead of it being right in front of her, she shifted it to beside her. Now she's able to move forward. My gosh, the spirit of joy, Joyce, no pun intended, like the spirit of joy, she just laughed and laughed and laughed. Why do you think that people's timelines play such a huge and relevant, element in the work that, obviously you and I do?
Yeah, it significantly plays into it. It's if we are, with like your person you were talking about, she was trying to create a future from living in her past. So she was in the energy of who she was and all the things she had done. And we tend to cling to that in yoga. We cling to that. Like we don't want to ever let it go. And even though it served a purpose for us during that time, we want to hold on to it because it's not available to us in this moment. Now, for her, it kept her from opening up to something new that was possible. So it's even though something was so good and I want that back, right? I want that moment back if it's something that we do want from the past, but it doesn't allow us to grow and step into a higher version of ourselves that we're capable of, because we're like, we know ourselves to be able to do this and I do it well. It's like called the zone of excellence. Like I know I know how to do it. I know how to do it well. I get a lot of accolades for it, and I'll just want to keep doing it because I want those accolades and I want the paycheck. I want the recognition, all those things. I don't want to let that go because I might get worse, right? But you also might get better. So it's
Absolutely.
so important in timeline to like learn from the past and grow from it, and then be open, and then take all of that with us, not like whatever, like the longing and the clinging, but we take all of those wonderful learnings and where we were and where we went, like what we become. And it's like this continuation on the timeline. It's like now I'm going to become this other version of myself that's even more empowered, even more confident, even more sure of myself. And maybe someone that's watching this is even like they've been working on imagining that, but it's like, yeah, like what if everything that's happened up until now has prepared you for the next thing, for that next chapter that you haven't maybe written it yet, but it's there, and you can imagine the first step or two of it, and being open to what's possible and the excitement of the adventure of something even greater is waiting for you that you've maybe been limiting yourself to. And that's the zone of genius. It's like we just keep getting better. Like I don't know, if you marinate meat, like it takes on the more of the flavors and the tenderness. The longer you leave it marinating, there's other kinds of examples. But
I love that one because I cooked a curry last night and I marinated it in the sauce. So it's interesting you should say that.
It's like we've been marinating in whatever, and we're like, okay, when am I going to when am I going to get cooked, and when am I going to like reach the perfect temperature that I'm going to taste the best, right? And I said, and we're never at our best because we just keep growing and growing. We don't never really arrive because it's just another chapter. It's like now wherever like that future that we arrive into. So even if you imagine for a moment something you've been like, I really would like to be able to do this thing of my own, but I haven't been able to because I've been in this job, or I've been in this relationship, or the kids have been at home. And, I've just been kind of dreaming about the day when the kids aren't there, or maybe I, go into a different company, or, I go into retirement and what is that next thing? And if you just allow yourself to go there, and like you're almost like you just stepped, and you can imagine yourself stepping 5 steps ahead, whatever length of time ahead in the future that is, and then almost see yourself like you're looking at yourself in front, you're behind yourself, and you can see yourself stepping into that place, and almost like you can stand up a little taller. And the person looks like you're looking at yourself, you look a little brighter, and your face is happier, and it's almost like you're this magnet for people to come to you, or you to do whatever you wanted to do, and you can hear everything that's happening as if it's in real time, and you can see everything around you as if it's in real time, and you hear, like, all of your senses are alive, and you can even like turn up the volume a little bit and hear everything louder and brighter and feel it more intensely. Allow yourself to feel that excitement, allow your eyes to sparkle with, with maybe a little feistiness or or love or whatever it is. Yeah, just let yourself be there, just taste it. Allow yourself to taste that moment. And then
Wow, I
now,
love
now
how
that
you
it's
are
locked in,
really, I love
yeah,
how, yeah, I love how you are really gustatory, like, taste. And, when you're so good at eliciting these states, where you're talking about what it tastes like and, what it feels like. And it's just incredible. That's just such a gift that you've got, Joyce. And, I want to ask, because I know that if people would love to really come into Joyce's zone of excellence and her zone of just being able to, turn your pain into your power and really feel held, because as you can all hear, Joyce is a very gentle, a very knowledgeable and a very intuitive person. And the empathetic approach really creates a safe space of such profound healing. And, what can I say other than that, I would highly recommend that person who is really looking for that self-empowerment. You're really looking to be able to be guided by a beautiful woman such as Joyce to, help you to reclaim your inner power. You deserve that. You can hear what's being said here, and you deserve, what Joyce specializes in. And I love what you've said about timelining and that way of how it, doing a simple and yet profound exercise and just having that knowledge can change and shift the face of somebody's whole life and release such negative traumas. And, I know that you do really, future pace them as well, so that they can really experience that person that they desire to be. But then, being a specialist at, the embodiment of coming back into the presence just makes it so incredibly magical. And I have one last question. I love to ask this question on my show to absolutely everyone, because I know that it's a podcast is always one of those things. And if it starts from where we started, it was like, whoa, this was a big test on both yours and my character, and a big test to say, well, are you guys serious? Like, are you really going to generate this kind of power to this audience? And I know now it was really worth it. So if you want to listen and take heed of Joyce's words of just go out there and fail, that's exactly what we did for a very long time before we made this podcast happen. So we are living and breathing what we're talking about. But the question that I do have for you is, if you can wake up tomorrow morning feeling just so, really rewarded richly by what you have shared and what you brought to this show, and there was perhaps one more thing that you would have really loved to have said, what is it? And do you have anything that you would love to share as a last words from the beautiful Joyce Ayers?
Oh, it's believe in yourself. We just so often we doubt the vision we have for ourselves. Like we have a dream, and the dream is too big, so we make it smaller. Therefore, we make ourselves smaller. We dim our light. And we also, like I said, that 95%. It's like when we dim our light, then others, we're telling others to only see us this way as well, because this is the only way that we see ourselves. And then what follows is what's to be expected when we don't expect to shine. So it's like, let yourself shine, like, go do something that you always wanted to do, or we're afraid to do. Take that leap of faith that you probably have more within you that you're capable of than you could really imagine. And that was for me. And when I was getting coached, it's like, yeah, you got this, you've got it. I'm like, yeah, I don't. It just, it's almost like cringed. It's like, no, I don't. It's like, yes, you do. Just go and do it. But I can't, I went kicking and screaming. So this doesn't have to be you. Just like, yeah, whatever those passions are stirring within you, those longings of doing something different that is just yours. Like, I call it your thing, because I found my thing. And it's like, create your thing, whatever that is. Start small and let it grow. Don't have an expectation on where it's going to end up or how you're going to get there. Just take that first step and see where you go, and treat it like an adventure, and remember to have fun. Just really remember to have fun, and get over yourself.
I love it. I love that. And I know for people, if they're listening to this podcast, the beautiful voice of Joyce Ayers is, just as epic as her soft, divine face. So if you can see her, maybe you're watching this on YouTube, you can really feel that embrace of all the, what Joyce is bringing out here. So what can I say, Joyce? It's been an absolute pleasure to connect with you, and you're a beautiful soul. And, for those people that are truly ready to, just release their negative traumas, release and let go of the disconnection they've got with their self, and make a profound shift. Joyce is going to have her links in the show notes. So take a look at the show notes, get in contact with her. And Joyce, I just want to thank you so very much, not just for your incredible wisdom, but your incredible patience as well, as we, went to air, and, everything that led us to being here today.
Well, thank you so much, Terry. It's the embodiment practices that you showed up for me, like in continuing to like make this happen, because I'm like, oh, maybe not. And
we could have given up. We could have given up so easily, couldn't we? But no, we pressed on.
Right. Yeah. Like we just, that being in your strength and your leadership and trusting you, like that this was going to happen and you're going to figure it out. And even if it didn't work out tonight, it would have happened in the time that it was supposed to. And I would, totally trust you to know that maybe tonight wasn't meant to be, and it was meant to be another time. And to just be with you in your presence. It's been quite an honor. I've gotten so much from what you've shared, and and your energy. It's so solid. Like it's just like, yeah, like this is the person you want to have in your circle, to mentor you, or to be your guide or your inspiration. And gosh, it's like there's so many women that have been my inspiration to keep me going, and to like, okay, I want to be like her. I want to be like Terry. Having this amazing podcast and retreats in Bali, and I have my own retreats and different things that I do, and I just love being with other women who have risen up and really stepped into their goddess magic, and potential and power, and like, let's just keep doing this for each other.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. And your words are just emulating everything about, who you are and what you do and what you preach. And I just want to thank you again because it's just been such an incredible pleasure. And we will leave the links so you can contact Joyce, or if you know someone out there that is really requiring to just come into themselves, to embody themselves, to know who they are, and to understand that they deserve love, connection, importance, significance, certainty, fun, as you heard Joyce talking about, and of course, knowing their life contribution. So that's all from us. And until next time, thank you from Terry Messenger's Genius Zone.
Thank you for joining us on another empowering episode of our show, where we have explored through this various topic, along with all the exciting new topics that we bring every week to enhance your personal mastery of excellence. Now, I'd love you to do me a favor. In fact, be part of the Legacy 1 million that I have in the vision for 2028. If you know someone who really would benefit from this recording, from this episode, please share it with them. And when you subscribe, you get notified every week of our episode as soon as it drops. So let's do that legacy thing. Let's share, let's care, let's enrich. And I look forward to bringing you another week of the most enriching content. So until next time, stay inspired, stay awesome, and keep on mastering your excellence.